Tonight, I can report to the American people and to the world that the United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden.
Where we continue to follow the capture and killing of Osama bin Laden now.
Those are just some of the scenes overnight as thousands of Americans gathered in celebration of Osama bin Laden's death.
Former Navy SEAL Rob O'Neill says he has thought about the mission every day since that May Day in 2011.
For multiple conversations you had with Rob O'Neill over the past year and a half, how'd you get
access? And you described that his head kind of exploded when you hit him.
I actually hit him 3 times because I shot him twice when he was standing and once on the ground.
That is the fucking American badass right there.
Go, go, go. We are not going for fame and we are not going for bravado. We are going for the single mom who dropped her kids off at elementary school on a Tuesday morning, and then 45 minutes later she jumped to her death out of a skyscraper.
If you need help, hang up and then dial your operator.
I'm Rob O'Neill, and this is the Operator Podcast. Welcome back to another episode of the Operator Podcast. I believe this is episode 129, something like that. We're heading into the 130s. I do know that, but yeah, it's 129. The Operator Podcast. Thank you for joining me. I'm your host, Robert J. O'Neill, former SEAL Team 6 operator, and I'm going to tell you what I think about a few things, and I want to hear back from you. Like I mentioned every week, if you can hit me up on the Operator Podcast on Instagram. That is there. The comments are good there. At Mick Huya also is there on both Instagram and Twitter. Give me some comments there. I've been reading a couple X comments now and then, but you know they have a tendency, like I mentioned, to get kind of nasty. But that's okay because we're here now. We're gonna have a blast. I took copious notes for this one because what I'm trying to do now is bring in some history of the nation, what we have done, what has been done, what is happening now, why people do stuff. Because I've had people tell me they don't like, they don't want me to get too political because it's the same shit they're seeing everywhere, which is true. A lot of the same arguments, which can be true too. But the way that I'm seeing it now is I'm very aware of, I mean, I don't want to sound like an old fart. Don't call me a boomer either because I'm not a boomer. Boomers were born in a different area. I'm Generation X, baby. Like that's like is that the Pepsi generation? Remember the Pepsi challenge? That was funny. Whatever. Boomers are actually probably, no, doesn't matter. But I don't want to sound like an old guy, but communists told us for a long, long time how they're going to beat us. And they told us straight up, they probably wouldn't need to fire a shot. They don't need to have nuclear war. They're just going to infiltrate. They are going to take over our schools. They are going to take over the school boards. They are going to take over our entertainment. They're going to take over the media. They're going to take over the colleges. And you don't need to swing a leftist around your head to hit another leftist nowadays on a college campus. They're here. Look at the school boards. Remember how ridiculous that was that they were calling parents who didn't want their kids chemically castrated homegrown terrorists? They're a threat to democracy. These are communist tactics to destroy this country. I'm not making this up. There are card-carrying members of the Communist Party in our government. We've let Hamas and Hezbollah basically into our government. Al-Shabaab in our government. They're in there, man, and they're rooting against us. They're rooting against our allies, and they want to see chaos. And, you know, it's almost confusing. It's like, you got to figure, too, everyone who's fighting thinks they're the good guy. Their guys are the good guys, and they're bad. Hamas thinks we're the bad guys. We're unbelievers. We're kuffers. Like the SecDef has tattooed on his arm. They're making a big stank about that. He told me that on Signal. No, he didn't. I'm kidding. Pete's a friend of mine. Secretary Hegseth's a friend of mine. And never lose your sense of humor. He's doing a lot of really good shit, pounding them Houthis. Houthis is the way we say it, I think. But they all think they're good guys. And maybe they were the way they were raised, that America's bad, because they're teaching that a lot, that we're a really bad country. Like they make it sound like we're founded on racism and slave owners and all that stuff, and they don't consider the 16th president of the United States, Abraham Lincoln, was the first Republican president, and he freed the slaves, and the Democrats wanted to keep him. They'll tell you that was a different Democrat party, but you know, they whatever. I don't like party politics, but what I'm seeing with these communists and calling who they're using fascist tactics, calling us fascists. You know, the violence for means to a political end is fascism. And that's what they're doing, burning down Teslas when a year ago they were talking about electric vehicles, and now they're burning lithium batteries. I mean, think about the polar bears. Where's Greta Thunberg on this one, rowing her little boat across the... where did she row that from, too? You're going across the North Atlantic. Man, I'll tell you what. I think she takes boat, even though the crews of the ship or whatever fly back and forth, blasting all that chemtrails or whatever the jets do, because that's how we roll on this flat Earth. But if she rowed across the North Atlantic, I do want to find out about that, because that's pretty much badass. Obviously, she was used hook, line, and sinker by the left. Not just our left, too, like the global elites. I'm talking the straight up, what's his name? Klaus Schwab. I almost said Charles Schwab. I buy all my Tesla stock through Charles Schwab. Klaus Schwab. I'm probably screwing this up again. I took copious notes because I don't want to screw up. I'm going kind of ad-lib here because that's how I roll sometimes. I hope I'm not wrong. Charles Schwab is my go-to. Klaus Schwab is bad, but that's the one world government. I mean, do they really believe in the one world government? So they need to destroy America and Israel because they're the last one standing up against it, and then they have their one world order, which is weird for me, for the left to want a one world government, because if you have one government over everyone and the wrong person takes it, their buddy that they love to talk about is Adolf Hitler. That's kind of how it is, man. Imagine one dude taking over a one world government. I mean, that right now, look at Europe. Okay, there's governments in the cities and in the countries, and then they've got NATO, and then they've got the UN. Man, our governments are so good, we need more government. And do they think they're the good guys? I don't think so. I mean, they've got a lot of people that go to public schools convinced they are the good guys. Because at school they don't teach you anything but how to protest and act. I don't have time for class. I need to concentrate on activism, which is stupid. I mean, I disagree. College has always been the place where they do that. I only went to college for like a semester and a half, and then I joined the the world's finest Navy. But I mean, like in Vietnam, okay, when I joined the Navy, I was like, yeah, you should have been in Vietnam, and if you're a draft dodger, F that, and you should be fighting. But I mean, the more you look at Vietnam, and I'll do a podcast about Vietnam too. It's like, a lot of guys didn't want to go to Southeast Asia to die for nothing. And that's how they did. And then, like, even with the LSD, I've talked about psychedelics and whatnot before, and some of the testing for LSD back in the day was it was healing and curing a lot of stuff, but the government didn't like it because it was the hippies doing it, and they're the anti-war guys, so make it illegal. Yeah, whatever. But I mean, now they're just assholes now. I mean, they're violent assholes. It's crazy, but what are they trying to do? I mean, now, don't think that these hate Tesla protests on a Saturday just pop up. That's not real. These are getting funded by said billionaires, the George Soroses out there. They're funded, and you'll notice these. Just watch them. They don't know what they're talking about when they get interviewed. They'll always put something in someone's face, blasting whistles or air horns to make sure you can't hear what they're saying because they're getting paid. They show up. They don't know why they're protesting. They can't articulate what, Elon Musk is taking. You hear him say, well, he's taking away our government. Good. That's why this country was formed. Too much government. And now the left is saying they want more government. And I don't understand how how half the country kind of buys this crap. So the reason that I sort of get political, it's not political. I'm neither party. I'm an American, and I love our allies, but I'm not European. I'm an American, and with a strong America, the world is better. And even right now, like the left, the communist media is telling you the tariffs are bad. They don't happen overnight. They're going to work. Don't freak out. You're not going to get instant gratification over something like tariffs. It's going to work. The taxes you're getting destroyed with, that I'll get into later, are not working. And yet the left, who used to be anti-government, they wanted you to get taxed more. And, tax the corporations, tax the rich too. I mean, billionaires aren't out there not paying taxes. And I think it's there are people that are not paying taxes, and it's not the rich people. It's a lot of the people that are sucking off the government's teat. Again, how they're using your tax money to pay people basically to vote for them. The communists too. And I'm not, it's just I have to talk about some of this stuff because I've mentioned stories about wars that I've been into, whether I agree or disagree. I know the men and women not all. I didn't meet everyone that fought in all the places. But, we fought for the right reasons. We fought for the people next to us. And I don't want to see this country get destroyed over ridiculous arguments. Because right now we're at a point where even the arguments the left has, Donald Trump is getting people from every race, religion, and creed to vote for him just because he wants a better America. Don't you want less taxes and take home more of your money? Well, we'll get into taxes later and how this country started. That's why I took my copious notes, because I don't want to screw that up. Because right now I can just, I can vamp. Do we still say vamp? I'm a boomer. No, I'm not. I'm a Generation X. But anyway, so we're going to have a little bit of fun. But before we get into all of that and the taxation without representation, which I'm sure you've heard, but I'm going to explain it, I hope. Again, the notes are everywhere here. I need to talk about my sponsor, Mando, because I love Mando, the whole body deodorant. I have it here with me. This is the stuff I've been telling you about every week that I finish, the whole body stuff. I mean, get creative. But every time I spray this, Jessica wonders if she likes candles. She wonders if I lit one of her candles. I'm like, no, that's just the bourbon leather invisible spray from Mando. And it is time for spring cleaning, which, I like it because you get rid of some jackets or old golf shirts and whatnot, donate a bunch of stuff. But what I'm excited to get rid of is the my old deodorant. I've been using Mando deodorant, and it is a game changer. They're from the founders of Lumi. And Mando's whole body deodorant is helping men conquer their odor in a new way. I like that it starts my day off cool and dry. And, when Jessica wakes up, my day might get a little bit better because I smell so damn good. And the whole body spray works all over, and you can unleash this bad boy anywhere you want. I was confident off the bat just by the straight talk and the badass packaging, and it's perfect for your package. Speaking of that, but you could be a surfer, a gym rat, or MMA and whatnot. Mando totally takes the guesswork out of confidence, and new customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code and link. Use code the operator at shopmando.com, shopmando.com, and $5 off a starter pack. The whole body deodorant, safe to use anywhere, pits, balls, folds, belly buttons, butt cracks, feet. Did I mention pits and balls? Created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. Mando deodorant product. They're the solid stick, formulated, powered by mandelic acid to stop odor before it starts. The spray deodorant is aluminum-free and ideal for hard-to-reach places. They're all baking soda-free, paraben-free. They're vegan, all that good stuff. Like bourbon leather, Clover Woods, Mount Fuji, Pro Sport. This is all good stuff. Clinically proven to control body odor better than a shower and soap alone. Like 12 hours after a shower, you're going to be stanky, but not with Mando. 0 out of 10 when the soap alone is about I'd say a 5 out of 10 after 12 hours. Mando's the stuff right there. So if you want America's #1 whole body deodorant formula right now, you can find them in Walmart, Target, other places like that. But for the best deals, go to, like I said, shopmando.com, shopmando.com, and use code THEOPERATOR. And we're looking at all kinds of stuff with it. Like I said, the solid stick, the cream tube deodorant, 2 free products. You have your choice in the starter kit. I always use the body wash, the deodorant wipes. Free shipping, if I didn't mention that. And as a special offer to our listeners, new customers get, like I said, $5 off the starter pack with this exclusive code that equates to over 40% off your starter pack. So go to, right when you're done listening to this, shopmando.com, shopmando.com. Use code the operator. Smell fresh or stay drier. Get a boost of confidence from head to toe, and mention you were sent there by the operator, and we all smell great. So, like I was mentioning in the beginning, the reason I get amped up about this isn't because of politics. I hate party politics. I don't want a one-party system. The uniparty, which I think has been around in the D.C. area for a while, it's not American. And it's not the reason, the original pilgrims came to this country. They came, their religious persecution, all the nonsense that was going on. Thanks a lot, England. Yeah, but they sailed over and they got there. So I'm going to take you on a journey back to a pivotal moment a little bit after that, but it's a pivotal moment in American history. I am going to read a little bit just because I wanted to get the notes down. I don't want to screw it up, but this moment that set the stage for the birth of a nation. And it all began on a cold December night in 1773 in the bustling port city of Boston. You've seen pictures, and it gets very cold in Boston in December, very windy. What they were doing was having a party, but nobody was laughing. And the event that unfolded that evening would become known as the Boston Tea Party, and it would prove to be a catalyst for the American Revolution. Tensions had been simmering, believe it or not, between the American colonies and the British Crown for years. The colonists they're getting pissed. They're growing increasingly frustrated with the heavy taxes and the lack of representation in the British government. That is taxation without representation. They're getting hit with taxes, and no one's representing them. And the final straw came when the British government passed the Tea Act. So more taxes. This is what government starts to do. This is what the left seems to love nowadays. I don't get it. And the Tea Act granted the East India Company a monopoly on tea sales in the colonies. This move was seen as yet another attempt to exert control and extract wealth from the colonies and bring it back to the British Empire. So 3 British ships, the Dartmouth, the Eleanor, and the Beaver, were moored in Boston Harbor with 342 chests of tea. And they kind of sat, it was almost like a taunt from King George. That tea's just here. So on the night of December 16th, a very cold night, 1773, a group of colonists disguised as Mohawk Indians, they had their faces painted and wearing dark blankets, they boarded the 3 ships that were anchored in Boston Harbor, and they were determined to make a statement to show the British they would not be pushed around any longer. With a sense of purpose and defiance, they dumped all of it into the harbor as an act of civil disobedience that would echo through the ages. And it wasn't about the shillings, the money, it was about the principle. Taxes upon taxes without representation. And I bet there's people writing. Do you know who your representative is now? There are people out there that don't. There are people that don't know who the representative is, and I bet there are representatives that don't. Well, at least don't live in their district. You know that's the truth too. I can think of a couple I'll name later. But the British responded. And it was swift. It was severe. They passed a series of laws that they called the Coercive Acts, but the colonials, the first Americans, they called them the Intolerable Acts. And they were designed to punish the colonists and reassert control. These laws only served to further inflame tensions and unite colonies in their opposition to British rule. So as the situation escalated, the colonists began to organize and mobilize. They formed the First Continental Congress. That was September 5th, 1774, and that was in Philly. Home of the future Super Bowl champions 2 times. That's pretty cool. What happened was a gathering of representatives from the colonies who came together to discuss their grievances and plan their next step, because not only the British not here, but they might be coming. And it was during this time that the seeds of revolution were sown. That was at the First Continental Congress. And that's basically when the idea of independence, separate from them, that took root right there. So it sounded good, but then came the Lexington and Concord, which are 2 towns in Massachusetts. Look at Massachusetts getting all up in it. And they were the sites of the first military engagements of the Revolutionary War. And it was on April 19, 1775. And obviously these events are collectively known as the Battles of Lexington and Concord. Okay, and all this started with rumors from this dude named General Gage, who was a British commander, and he's up in Boston. He had his sights set on the weapons and the powder in Lexington. And his plan was just to go in there, seize all of it, and arrest the dudes. Seize the stuff, squash it, arrest guys like Sam Adams, John Hancock, both of whom actually inevitably signed the Declaration. And so when they came in, about 70 militia gathered to defend against hundreds of redcoats. And the leader of the militia, he was a captain, he said, stand your ground and don't fire unless fired upon. But if they mean to have a war, let it begin here. That's pretty badass. And no one knows who fired the first shot, but the first musket that blasted in the Revolutionary War was now, right then. And the British swiftly won and figured they could march to Concord and squash it. Get rid of the uprising. They crushed Lexington, and now they're going to move to Concord. That'll be it, and we can put these peasants down. But what they didn't know, what the British didn't know, was that dudes like William Dawes and Paul Revere, they'd ridden out of town. And what they were saying, this is really cool because you hear the thing, the British are coming. What they were doing was they were giving the alert to the colonists, and they were saying, 1 if by land, 2 if by sea. You might have heard that before too, but you know, what does anyone know what that means? Well, here it is. This is a reference to a signal system used during the Revolutionary War. specifically during the events leading up to the battles of Lexington and Concord in April 1775. This phrase is part of a plan devised by Paul Revere, and other patriots were there too. He's the most famous one, to alert the colonial militia about the route the British Army was taking, how they were going to get at them. And so here's the plan. It was hang lanterns in the steeple of the Old North Church in Boston. If the British were coming by land, you light one lantern. That would be hung up there. If they were coming by sea, that's across the Charles River. That's cool. Up in Boston, man, they love that dirty water. But they're coming by sea, 2 lanterns. They're hung there at the Old North Church in Boston. And the signal allowed the Patriots to prepare and respond accordingly. And they fucking did. So at Concord, the militia swelled, and this time they fired first. The Americans did. The future Americans did. The Brits thought they had burned all the powder. They thought they had got them, but they didn't because the Patriots had hidden it stuff too. You know, this is some future tactics. Hide your stuff. Don't let them see it. And they crushed them. The Americans crushed the British at the North Bridge, and it forced them to retreat. And the word that I read, I've been researching this, was the retreat back to Boston was a nightmare for the Brits. They lost 300, like killed, wounded, and missing. With missing, you know what that means. That ain't good. Missing is like someone grabbed you, someone who don't like you, and they have knives. So that's got to suck. And they were harassed. The Brits were harassed the whole way back to Boston. And so the colonists, what they proved was not only were they prepared to fight, they proved they would fight. So the Boston Tea Party set in motion a chain of events that would ultimately lead to the Declaration of Independence. The colonists, inspired by the spirit of resistance, the real resistance, not this horse shit you see burning Teslas and beating up Jewish people on a college campus. This is real resistance from real tyranny, and it was their belief in the right to self-governance, and it began to articulate their vision for a new nation. So they drew up the ideas of enlightenment, the principles of liberty, equality. That would take some years, obviously, to get that down, but that takes time, and democracy. They had to craft a document that would forever change the course of history and make the greatest nation in the world. I'm going to get into that too, because they do say liberty, equality, and democracy. Obviously, we had slaves, so I'm going to get into that for sure. That's interesting, and I'm convinced there are stories that haven't been told that a lot of people deserve their heritage to be known. That's kind of cool. We're trying, right? So on July 4th, 1776, the Second Continental Congress adopted the Declaration of Independence. It's a bold and revolutionary statement that declared 13 American colonies to be free and independent states. Pretty cool, right? That's what they say the 13 stripes on the flag represent. They say that. I saw that on trivia in a restaurant. I'm going with it. But the document was written by Thomas Jefferson, and it laid out the colonists' grievance against the British Crown and asserted the right to establish a new government based on the consent of the governed. Oh, that's a crazy thought. Basically, the governors work for the people who are, that whole thing where the government they wanted the government to work for the people, and it was like that for a while, not now. Like politicians now are like, they're treated like celebrities, and they can do whatever they want. No one does anything, and they just crush the stock market. Better than Charles Schwab, who I used. But the Boston Tea Party, that defiant act of rebellion on a cold December night, had set the stage for this monumentous and just kick-ass declaration. It has shown the colonists that they had the power to stand up against oppression and fight for their rights. It had united them in a common cause and given them the courage to take the ultimate step towards independence. They proved it at Lexington and Concord. We can fight these guys and we can win. And that's important, the mindset. And so from the ashes of the Boston Tea Party rose a new nation that turned out to be the greatest nation, born out of struggle for freedom and the belief in the power of the people. That's pretty simple. The Declaration of Independence, inspired by the events of the Boston Tea Party, would become a beacon of hope and a testament to the enduring spirit of liberty. And what I loved about these colonists is that they weren't just angry. They were ready, and they fought, and that's just cool. And here's what I want you to wrap your nuggets around. That was because of a 2% tax on tea. Tea. Like you have tea at breakfast sometimes. I like tea. Sleepy time tea? Yeah. 2% tax to go to war and form a nation. Look at us now. Look at what DOJ is finding. Government efficiency is finding blatant fraud, blatant theft by politicians who are obviously not working for you. This is why it bothers me. This is why it should bother you. This is why you should tell your friends. You got to get pissed off when you get your check and you see the taxes withheld. How much it is. Look at all the look at the fees, like especially if you're in California. Look at the fees on if you go to a restaurant, all the bullshit you're paying for. It's all going into someone's pocket. What's the tax for? To shine the plates? To make sure the knives are sharp? No. It's all robbery. Taxation is theft. Now, you get taxed on money you make and then money you spend. You get taxed on the money that you keep after they tax you, and then if you get it when you invest it, you get taxed. If you take it out of your investment, capital gains, baby, get taxed on that. If you keep all your money and you die with it, they'll tax you when you die. That you're dead money. You bought a car, that was taxed. You put gas in. The reason gas gets expensive too. Look at the taxes on gas. You get taxed on that. That car when you bought it too, they taxed you on the car. When you're driving your car, you ever seen tolls? Taxes. What are those taxes for, by the way? For infrastructure. Have you seen the infrastructure in this country? Yeah, it's pretty. The potholes, the bridges, and yet some of your tax money is going to West Africa so they know about voting rights as they're eating people. No, the money's not. This is for the $70 hammers the Air Force buys or the $500 toilet seats. That was in Independence Day, the movie. Because that's what goes on the invoice that no one ever reads, and there is no audit. The Pentagon's never passed an audit, and it's your money. The building you work in, when it was built, yeah, they had to build the code. You ever try to put up a deck? Do it to code. Tax. You need that stuff. And like I have some employees, when I pay them, there's a payroll, an additional payroll tax that I pay on them who get taxed as well. When you go home, even if you own it, if you paid cash for your home, you still get to pay taxes every year. They make sure they tax you. The government's got that. And don't screw that up, by the way. Do not screw that up. They can fail audits all they want. You cannot. You will go to prison. That's that's what they got Al Capone. Al Capone was put in on tax evasion and he died of syphilis. That's a means to an end right there. That's proof right there. I don't want to screw up my huge taxes in the tax code I don't understand just so I can die of syphilis. I don't even know how that happens. That probably wasn't because of taxes. But you're getting taxed on everything you buy, everything you give away. Gifts, Venmo. Oh, don't forget, too, you get taxed by the city you're in, the municipal shit, probably your state sometime. Oh, don't forget sales tax. And they'll get you on other stuff, too. I lived in Texas for a while. Me, by myself, the sole proprietor of Robert J. O'Neill, LLC, and Texas is always bragging on no state tax. Yeah, well, they have a fucking franchise tax that I got hit with all the time because I guess I'm a franchise. The government will get theirs. This is crazy. We started a revolution over a 2% tax on tea. And this is the shit they're doing to us now. And half the country is defending them because they don't like Donald Trump. They don't know why. Tell me why in the comments. Why do you hate him? And don't call him a name. Why? What's the tariffs? No, give it a minute. Tariffs will work. He's evening the playing field. We're getting hosed by our politicians because they're going to get theirs. They don't care about you. They're going to get paid regardless. You know how many multimillionaires popped up right around the time we invaded Iraq? I was there for Iraq, too. I know people that died in Iraq. I'm assuming some of the listeners here had friends that died in Iraq. Is it a coincidence, or is that just the military-industrial complex that President Eisenhower warned us about? Beware the military-industrial complex. Tax, tax, tax. They're going to build stuff. It's just frustrating. They're not really the people that do produce are getting the funding from your money. They're not investing in themselves and then making, failing businesses and then finally making it. Like CEOs of companies, they fail over and over and over. That's how you succeed. Not here. Not in Congress. During COVID, you think a single staffer missed a payment, or God forbid a congressman? No. And Elon Musk was even mentioning there are some strangely wealthy members of Congress who are, that we're talking maybe a $220,000 give or take salary, $220K a year. How are you worth $80 million? And I love how they call themselves, he was in public service for 50 years. Bullshit, public service. Riding the train from Delaware to D.C., worth millions as a public servant. That is not public service. That is insider trading. That is theft. And they are getting, now listen to this, they are getting rich off of what they steal out of your paycheck. That when they jack up the prices for your gas, paying at the pump, they're getting paid taxes. 7 of the 10 wealthiest counties in this country are right around the Beltway of D.C. Why is that? They making cars there? Are they raising a bunch of cattle? Do they have land? No. Your money flows there. Or they print it more. 40 billionaires were created during COVID. How many millionaires do you think somebody in Congress made off of making masks? Or that stupid plexiglass shit? Oh, I guarantee there's millionaires. Plexiglass, it'll stop COVID. Listen to this. Brian Higgins was a former member of Congress, a Democrat. He did resign in 2023 because he just didn't like the way Congress was working. I'm thinking it has to do something that with his stock returns that were up 238.9%. That's pretty good. That's actually really good. And I'm not just picking on Democrats. Mark Green's the same way. I think he's still in Congress, right behind him. Rich as hell. We mentioned the approximately $220,000 a year these people make. I'm going to give you a little couple numbers here. We'll go in order. Elizabeth Warren, card-carrying socialist, worth $67 million. If you saved up, how long would it take to save up $220,000 a year to be worth 67? I should have done the math on that. Do the math. Get it back to me. $67 million. Not bad. Mitch McConnell, he's worth $95 million. Chuck Schumer, public servant, man. He's worth $75 million. Barack Obama was saying how he was poor going into the White House. He's worth about $80 million. Nancy Pelosi, allegedly her husband, Paulie P., as Jesse calls him, he's Nancy Pelosi and Paul, because he's better than Warren Buffett at picking stocks, obviously, because he's in real estate, which has nothing to, he's not anyway, the Pelosi's worth $202 million. Yeah, I never hear people complain about taxing Pelosi. Like Elon Musk invented PayPal and Tesla and sends rockets up to rescue people trapped in space who weren't brought back from space because of a political decision. That's how political they get, especially the Democrats. The Democrats, I know this, I've seen it. They go in every single morning, they have a meeting with the members and talk about how we can hurt the other party because we got to win the next election. You think they talk about you? How much you're paying for eggs? Fuck no. You think they care about your breakfast, about your family? Can you afford the gas they tax? No, they don't. They talk about the party. How do we win the next election? Did someone go against the grain? Well, who's going to primary him? Look at Schumer. He voted for the spending bill, and then AOC, she pops out of nowhere. She's going to probably primary him in New York. Interesting, but I mean, this is the reason. I don't want to get political. I don't like if I'm probably going to get involved in the midterms just because we need people in there that aren't going to. Think of the ludicrous stuff from 2020 to 2024. Think of the shit they were shoveling at you, and we tried. We believed it. Our country, it just looks like something. I mean, to the point where I was wondering, is this even real, or are we living in the Matrix? Am I the only character and everyone's fucking with me, or are people that batshit crazy? Because it's weird. Because when I go out amongst the locals. When I go up against the natives, everyone seems to be fine. Where are these crazies? I'm not inviting you over. I'm just wondering, but man, some of the stuff they're saying is ludicrous. And that's why I speak up, man. 2% tax on tea started this country, and now we're letting it crumble to a bunch of communists that said they were going to do it. I want to tell you about a sponsor of this show, Ridge Wallet. I mentioned them a couple times before. When I first got out of the Navy, I was buying designer wallets and stuff like that looked cool, but they were bulky, and I'd have an issue getting some of the cards out. But look at this thing. Streamlined as hell. This is something you could jump out of a plane. It fits 12 cards in there and cash, and it's streamlined. Unique and slim, and it's made with premium materials like aluminum, titanium, carbon fiber. There's 50 colors and styles to choose from. And all Ridge wallets come with a lifetime warranty. This is literally the last wallet you'll ever need to buy. It'll give you peace of mind, too. It does for me. It has a RFID blocking technology to watch out for digital pickpocketers. Everything right now is all about security. You got to do the 2-system code, whatever. You don't need to worry about getting pickpocketed with the Ridge wallet. Losing your wallet is the worst thing, but Ridge Wallet also has AirTag attachment. You'll always know exactly where it is before you start to panic, which does happen when you lose your wallet because that's basically your life. And Ridge isn't just about wallets. They create premium everyday carry essentials like key cases, suitcases, and rings, all built with the same sleek, durable, streamlined design. I love doing streamline. We used to climb a lot of ladders and whatnot on ships. You got to be streamlined in the front. When you jump, you want to be streamlined. Don't want one of those nasty horseshoe malfunctions. If I had to jump a wallet, it would be this. And no matter what you pick, Ridge has free shipping, 99-day risk-free trial, and a lifetime warranty like I mentioned before. And right now they're having big sales at Ridge.com. Use code THEOPERATOR and get some savings. Check out their stuff, Ridge.com/TheOperator to see some of their big sales. After you get make a purchase there at Ridge.com with The Operator, tell them you were sent there by The Operator Podcast. So that is Ridge.com/TheOperator. Get one of these streamlined wallets and huge peace of mind. Everything you need is right here. Ridge.com. And it is April 2nd today, which is the day for the tariffs. Tariffs become a word that's getting thrown around by the leftist media because the economy and the Dow, the market is a lot of it's based on emotion, and because of the stuff being pumped out, people think tariffs are bad. Trying to even the playing field with other countries tariff the hell out of us, and we're just trying to even it out. So we're going to find out. I think they're bracing for it up in Canada. Not as bad as they're portraying. And Canada doesn't hate us. We certainly do not hate Canada. But the trade war, we for some reason we like to get stiffed again because the lawmakers, they don't care as long as they're. I'm not even getting into it, but that's today. And also early this morning, a woman by the name of Susan Crawford. She won the most money ever, I think, spent on an election for a judge was that one. There was like $90 million spent. This is for a Supreme Court judge. I think it's the most expensive one in history, and that's Wisconsin's a blue state, and now the left has a 4-3 majority. It's a setback for the Trump administration, kind of a referendum. They're liberal as hell up there, but they're concerned. Elon Musk spent a lot of money trying to keep her out. She's, this is one of their lines of defense. I don't want to get into it. I'm not a lawyer, but because their policies are not working with the American people, they're getting judges to. They're filing so many lawsuits and having judges in there to redistrict and whatnot. Because I think essentially a lot of decisions that are made, are how to keep or gain or maintain control of the House. So. I mean, it's not a good win. And then, basically, I think the way that I'm going to try to say this, and hopefully you'll agree, we'll talk about this in a year. This administration has basically a year to prove what they're doing is working. That's a quick timeline. A year flies by, man. It's nuts. But this time next year, if the economy isn't right and the tariffs didn't work, that's, the midterms will go to the left, and then you'll be dealing with impeachment. The whole time. So nothing will get done if the tariffs don't work, essentially, and the economy doesn't turn around and prices don't go down, interest rates, then that's it. So this time next year. So that's that with, again, this is important because what happens when the left takes over again, and I get interested in this because of the open border. We don't want to get those back to. We're dealing with stuff now. I mean, just the way that you can see they try to spin it. There's a verified by the Department of Homeland Security, MS-13 gang leader was grabbed out of Maryland by ICE, arrested, and then deported. And the left is there. Senator Cory Booker, who spoke for 25 straight hours about God knows what. Which, I mean, that's impressive to stand up and talk for 25 hours. It's a filibuster, basically. When I don't even know what the hell this was, but I know. Just get up there and read the dictionary, or try to find an old school Yellow Pages. Just read that to people. But he was up there ranting and raving. But what the left is doing too, Senator Warner from Virginia, who's liberal as hell and pretty annoying, who I'm convinced got elected just because of the former governor, name recognition. When people go in to vote, a lot of times they're voting for the president, and then they see the name Warner, Virginia. You know, I like that guy. It's a different guy, but he was calling the left was instead of calling him a violent MS-13 gang leader, they were calling this dude they deported a Maryland dad. I mean, he's not from Maryland. He's from Venezuela. Homeland Security did say that he is a gang leader or a terrorist, but that's concerning because of the open borders and stuff like that too. And you know what we're doing now too is just a lot of the stuff that we're doing is not we, but with the open borders, and this is happening everywhere. Some of these elected governments, especially the ones that hate Trump, are giving special attention to. They love people coming in. It's got to be because of the votes potentially. I think that's what it all comes down to. Again, is the votes and the money. And I'm repeating myself because I kind of wanted even to sink into my skull. But we're seeing in the UK right now, you know, unloading all kinds of migrants coming up from wherever they're coming from, and they're taking over cities too. And they're you know, I was watching an interview the other day of some hardcore jihadis, and they're saying they don't care about the Brits, they don't care about their culture, they hate their culture, they hate their sports, they hate their lifestyles, the nightlife, their homosexuality, and they want Sharia law. Fine. Why do you got to bring it to the UK? Is it because the UK politicians are housing you? Yeah. You can bring your 3 wives, and every wife has their own house, and the taxpayer can fund their kids. Yeah. You'll get arrested if you try to protest as a Brit. It was Eid on Monday, which is the end of Ramadan, and they fast during Ramadan, which means they don't eat or drink anything when the sun's out, which is impressive. And his Cantor Freedom, when he was playing in the finals, it was Ramadan one year, and he couldn't even drink water when the sun was out, which sucks. But I mean, is it a fast really, or do they have a huge breakfast before the sun comes up and a huge dinner when the sun goes down? Pretty much sleep all day. So you're skipping lunch. All right, Allahu Akbar. But even in the UK, there was episodes of during Ramadan, people working with other people, and they had pretty serious people of that faith telling them they weren't allowed to eat either during Ramadan, like at work, and they're forcing that on people, and that's just bad. Why you got to force your shit on everybody? I'm not even going to get into how stabby and rapey it's getting in certain places in Europe because they're letting people in that are unchecked from different countries that you can't. And it's not like I'm making this up. And I think about security every single day because I know who these people are, and it's not a fantasy to me. They're real, and they only need to be right once. So, but even though Ramadan is over and it's still Lent, I would like it if Muslims don't eat any meat on Fridays. That'd be cool. I'm not going to force you to, but since you're making people not eat their spaghetti at lunch on a double shift, you can just have fish on Friday. So there was that. And then there's still stuff coming in from the Signal episode where there was a lot of people on a Signal. They're not going to let that go either. They want someone fired. I don't think Donald Trump should fire anybody. Mike Waltz, Green Beret Colonel, should have known better than to put out a group chat about what we're going to do. And they shouldn't be putting times and bombs away and stuff like that. So the left's going to run with that. And even if like Mike Waltz, who is he's the National Security Advisor, like I said, Green Beret, good dude, should know better, OPSEC, but he did admit he's taking full responsibility. And unfortunately, sometimes that means getting fired. Shouldn't be fired. I mean, it's a screw up, but you got to get past it. And they're in a certain time right now, do what the Democrats do. Don't admit you're wrong. I mean, and actually, maybe they did admit they're wrong. They said lessons were learned. I mean, after this, the punishment maybe should be get an E4 Mafia, bunch of Marines, and follow these dudes around for a while. Make sure that, an E4 Marine knows certain things you can't text. You don't text that stuff, but it happened. However, and the left's not going to let go of this, but the Secretary of Defense can classify or unclassify anything. So that's just because of his position. So if he decides it's not classified, it's not. Pretty sure. You look it up, tell me. I think they're doing a great job with what they're trying to do. And they do need to pound the Houthis. And I just hate overseas wars, but man, we get them. I don't want it to happen. but it does. And they're attacking ships coming through the Red Sea. I think only 3% of our interests come through the Suez. Suez is pretty cool, though. Shady part of the world, but it's cool. I remember I went through there with Bravo Platoon SEAL Team 2 right around 1999. There was nothing going on. There was certainly no wars in the future. We got to make some so people can get paid. But I remember hitting golf ball. I have pictures of that. If you scroll through my Insti-poo, there's pictures of golf balls being hit off the USS Kennedy. CV-67. Oh, I said CV, not CVN. It's an aircraft carrier that you got to pull over once in a while. Put some diesel in that bad boy. Refuel. Unrep. Underway replenishment. And then... speaking of that part of the world, obviously Israel's involved with stuff. And what you'll notice too, it depends on how deep we want to get into this. The IDF is they're still hitting spots in Syria, which is an entire new episode why that's happening, because those are the moderate rebels, and loosely by moderate rebels I mean Al-Qaeda. Those are the dudes that roll through there, taking out the Assad regime, beheading people, terrorizing people. But their leader, and I forgot his name because, once again, I don't care. You shouldn't care either. Instead of wearing the traditional Al-Qaeda, whatever it is they wear, now he's putting on a suit and tie because he's trying to... What he can do, this leader of Al-Qaeda in Syria, what he can do is say that we're moderates and we need to rebuild Syria after the years and years of genocide and civil war. So who's going to fund him? Well, the Arab states are going to fund Syria, as he's wearing a suit and tie saying he's changed his way. And I love when people change their way, like that chick from NPR the other day saying, I've changed my mind over the past half decade. That makes it sound bigger than it is. You mean like 4.5, 5 years? You changed your mind? But what this Al-Qaeda dude is, he can butter up a lot of these people to get Syria back. Man, just be more like Dubai. Build it up and then stop killing. Put a resort in the West Bank. Come on. Killing each other over, the deal. But the IDF's still hitting their airfield, still hitting where they think, because these are all launching pads to take out Israel, which is, again, cornerstone of what a lot of these people want to do. And then, what's not interesting, but speaking of religions and living together harmoniously, in the Congo, they just beheaded about 70 people in a church. It's hard to find the stories, and even on some AI platforms, because they don't want to admit why it happened. Why did these terrorists behead these people in a Catholic church? I don't know. It's Lent. They don't like Catholics. They want Sharia law. Dude, just go back to a country where there is Sharia law if you need that. Don't bring it. And Brits, stand up for yourself, for God's sake. And cops in Britain and in Europe. Look what's happening. They're going to take over. Look at a lot of the elected. It's coming. Sharia's coming. You're not going to like it. Every time Sharia takes over, the people don't like it. Guess who does like it? Other people in charge. Because they'll give you some of the rules suck. No sports, no music. Cover yourself up. Women can't get educated. Does that sound like fun? The leftists love that stuff. Why women of Colombia, why would you want a place where they won't allow you to go to college? But they're beheading people. The Congo is an interesting story, too. I'm going to get into that. I'm going to do some deep dives into the Congo, just some of the origins of what went down there, because there's weird stuff that happened there. I mean, I'm talking, and I'm going back to, I mentioned the slave trade. Congo was a big time, I'm talking, since we did our part to say that the Muslims are being aggressive, a lot of Christians went down to the Congo with the idea, this is going to be an interesting episode, not today, but they went down to Congo with the idea that they're going to convert people to Christianity until what? They realized how much money they could make in the slave trade. Ditch that preacher uniform or whatever you're wearing and start driving ships over across the sea. Not good either. Because, I mean, even if you're devout to your religion, sometimes money is king. So there's that. A lot of stuff. I'm going to read into that too. We'll talk about the Congo and how a lot of people don't realize that when a lot of ships left the Congo with a ship full of people that don't want to be there, a lot of drift came in, and one of the closest countries to Africa, actually the closest, well, as far as being on the mainlands, is Brazil. So people from Portugal went down to the Congo to be good pastors or preachers. They grabbed slaves. They went over to Portugal. From Portugal, they went to Brazil. And I mean, not a coincidence that Portuguese is the language of Brazil. A lot ties in there. So, that's not fun. Something else not fun, too, is Val Kilmer. You heard probably just died. Iceman, Tom Kazansky, two of the best movies ever made. Top Gun and the other Top Gun, the new Top Gun, amazing. He just died. It sucks. He was in a lot of good movies, man. He was Batman before. Real Genius. Remember that one? Go watch. Yeah, the problem with funny movies from the 80s, though, is they were, man, the 80s, that was a long time ago. They were hilarious back then, but they're not as funny now, I think. But Real Genius is worth it. There was a line in there, I think Val Kilmer said about one of his dorky dorm, or it might have been the hall monitor or whatever. And he's like, did I ever tell you about the time I walked in on him naked with a bowl of Jell-O? And he just said, I was hot and I was hungry. But yeah, Iceman, he died at mid-60s, so that sucks. But, rest in peace. And, so watch out for the tariffs, see what's happening here. And just the realization is if we can last that long, get the economy going, pay, for a reasonable price and hopefully less taxes. If you can get less taxes, fewer taxes, and keep more of your take-home money, then you're never out of the fight.